Auf dem grünen Rasen steht ein Team in weißem Dress bereit. Mit Schläger und mit Ball in Hand beginnt das Spiel im Bayernland. Die Zirpen singen laut im Chor, der Bowler läuft zum Wurf hervor. Der Batsmann schwingt mit aller Kraft, das Leder fliegt durch Sommerluft. Zirp, 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 der Rhythmus schlägt, das Publikum ist aufgeregt. Ein 6, ein 4, ein schneller Lauf, die Stimmung heißt sich weiter auf. Cricket, Cricket, wärisch wild, wo Tradition auf Neues trifft. Mit Lederhosen und mit Bart feiern wir den Cricket-Satz.
Hello everybody, welcome to Record Cafe. Dave normally does the introductions, but I don't think Dave should be introducing himself, so I'll introduce Dave. Also, actually, I want to just thank Dave, because he's done, how long have we been doing these, how many years?
I don't know.
We don't know how many years, but it's been a lot of years, and I think a lot of you looking around have been to just about all of them. And Dave's been doing this off his own back, he's been organising it all. And I think I think Dave deserves a round of applause for just roll around all in it. So yeah, I want to thank Dave for doing all this, because it's a great thing, it's interesting, it's, you know, it's something you don't see everywhere.
Anywhere.
Anyway, but it's great to see sort of fresh-faced, bright, happy, happy faces, ready for another pint. So anyway, Dave is probably regretting doing today after last night.
Yes.
But he'll be talking about, as it says here, if you read Germans and cricket in 1850s Bradford, from the warehouse of Little Germany to the Bradford League. So without any further ado, David Pendleton.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you. I've taken the opportunity of writing things down, given those who were with us last night. It was the annual dinner at Valley Parade, the fundraising dinner, and things got a bit out of control. I think we were seeing dancing in the Peacock at midnight. There you go. So dancing in the Peacock at midnight. And some people were still out at 2 a.m. A former footballer, Terry Dolan, was at the Midland Hotel at 2 a.m. and still going at 70-something. Good God. 75, 2 a.m. Anyway, I packed in at midnight. I went back. Anyway, so it might be a bit subdued today. It might not be quite as enthusiastic as usual. But I'll try my best. This is a very unlikely talk. It's about 1850s Bradford and cricket, and Germans and cricket. You may think, well, that's a bit of a strange combination, but it's true. These things, it's about the journey towards league cricket. It's how it started and how we got from Germans bizarrely playing cricket in Bradford to the Bradford Cricket League, and it kind of challenges what's cricket about, whose game is it, and you know you probably can't see this too well. Joe will put it online when we do all that stuff. This is a beautiful painting by Francis Cunningham Baston. That's hung in Trent Bridge, and it's the pastoral cricket. It's there's a tent for the changing room. There's a stately home in the background. It's the classic image of the parson, the ploughman, and the vicar playing cricket together in this sort of idealised England. And it is about England as well. It's about sort of Middle England and the home counties. So this idea of the mind's eye imagination of cricket is not one of Bradford warehouses, for example, and I think it's a great image to start with. And it's the Victorian middle class in particular really grabbed hold of this idea of cricket because it was an escape from industrialisation. It was escape from the changes that was racking society. 1850s Britain, there's a hell of a lot of change going on, particularly in Bradford, which was growing enormously through the 1840s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Every year the population was doubling. You had the mills from 1850 was basically the end of handloom weaving and the start of power mills. So there's a lot of change going on and a lot of social change. So the Tory Anglicans who had ruled the roost in Bradford forever were being challenged by the liberal non-conformist manufacturers and also a growing a growing will for people to have the vote in Bradford. So there's a lot of change going on at the same time. So this is a sort of background to what happens. And county cricket, sorry, I'll go back one. County cricket was kind of in the same vein. It's played sedately over several days. It's got kind of out of touch with the frantic excitement of things like the football and rugby codes, which happened on 2 hours on a Saturday afternoon. You know, this was exciting. It was gate money. It was about identity. And county cricket was kind of doing the complete opposite by playing, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. There's been a lot of cricket playing in Bradford. The first thing I've come across, 1832, there was at least 10 clubs playing. Clubs, not pubs. Clubs. Slip of the tongue. They played regularly on common land. They didn't have their own grounds. So they play at places like Ollerton Lee, Apley Bridge, Baildon Moor, Bradford Moor, and Ecclesall Moor. So they're playing on the fringes of the town in very ad hoc games, probably on farmers' fields. And the first club that represents the city, I've gone past it again. There we are. Is Bradford Cricket Club. They start in 1836. They're formalised. And they're a very middle-class club. They're a very upper-class club, actually. And you probably can't see this picture too well. Again, we'll put it online when Joe does the film. And it's a very disparate bunch of people. They're dressed in all sorts of bizarre coloured things. It's not... Everybody thinks about cricket and the whites are the gentlemen and playing cricket, but on this picture, they're wearing all sorts of different hats. They're wearing striped tops. They're wearing bow ties. It's a very flamboyant carry-on. It really is. But this isn't representative of working class cricket. These are not working class men. These are men who can afford to take time off to play the game. They develop a ground at the Manville, which, if anybody remembers the Manville pub, it was right behind that. And it's the first time anybody had a formalised ground. It was the first time anybody had named themselves Bradford and were representing Bradford. And they played on Mondays and Tuesdays. And they played games against people like Halifax, Huddersfield, Knaresborough, Leeds, Otley, Wakefield. And it was this start of this idea of we're playing somebody else. And several thousand people would roll up to games, despite the fact they were playing on Mondays and Tuesdays. But in the 1840s, St. Monday was still a thing. And what St. Monday was all about is, before the mills really get hold, I used to turn up and you'd be paid for time at work, as everyone understands now. In handloom weaving days, you'd be paid what they call, you'd be given a pile of work, and it was up to you when you finished it. It was up to you when you started it. As long as you got it done by Friday, it was all fine. And what a lot of people used to do, if they had a load of money left from drinking at the weekend, they'd have Monday off as well. Just wouldn't bother going to work, and they used to call it St. Monday. So I think that's why sometimes people turn up in quite big numbers at cricket club games in Bradford. In 1851, the Manville site was sold for the erection of what they call middle-class villas, and they move up to what is now Pemberton Drive, opposite the university. The ground backed onto Claremont, where Fred Delis used to live, the composer, and he there's a great love of cricket in his family, and it comes from the fact that out of his back window he could sit and watch Bradford Cricket Club playing, and he talks about seeing W.G. Grace play there. An Aboriginal touring team played there. Yorkshire played there on several occasions. But then by 1881, the club goes through all sorts of problems actually behind the scenes, but they have to move again because the ground's built on for more villas, and they move to a place they call Bradford Park Avenue. And then they mix up with the rugby club and develop the famous Park Avenue grounds, which eventually, of course, becomes Bradford Park Avenue football team. So there's a lot of change going on. What about these Germans? What's going on? Let's have a look. There we are. The Saturday half holiday. What this basically is everybody used to work 6 days a week. You would have Sunday off for religious observance. There was a big push for workers to finish at 2 o'clock on a Saturday and then eventually midday on a Saturday. And some of the people who were really, really behind this push were the German owners of the warehouses in Little Germany. They were very well known for being very socially minded. They would look after the workforce. They were very liberal. And the owners of the warehouses were very much part of the campaign. So no surprise that when the first tranche of Saturday afternoons off come along, it's warehousemen who get the Saturday afternoons off. And if you give people time off work, what will they do? They'll go to a pub or start playing sports. And the warehousemen started playing cricket very early on. So in 1850s Bradford, this is the first game I found on 29th of March, which seems quite a bit too early to me for a cricket game, but there you go. Heyman and Alexander play at N&P Nathan. and they're both German-owned companies. Now, the problem is, of course, is when you start looking at the teams, they're all called Smith, Wotmoff, Brown, and what have you, Oman, Royd, and Sidebottom. There's not many Germans playing the game, but the fact that the German owners are quite happy for their companies' names to be used tells you probably something about them. And of course, you know, you think, oh, it's great of these German owners to give their workers Saturday afternoon off, but you know, a healthy mind, healthy body thing. You know, it's a productive workforce, an engaged workforce. You might stay with the company because they've got a nice cricket team and they've allowed you to play. They might have attracted workers by the provision of sports facilities. Go up to the 1930s, Hayes Ladies, which Catherine gave the talk on last year, didn't she? They attracted workers because they had a great football team for the women. So it's not just a one-way street with the Germans. And in the 1850s, I found 12 warehouses playing cricket, and you won't be able to see this, but there's Barsdorf on Charles Street. Charles Street was where the Swan Arcade was, which is now where the Broadway Shopping Centre is. Barons on East Parade, a lot of you'll know Barons Warehouse. Heyman and Alexander on Wells Street, bottom Little Germany, that's still there. Kessler's on Wells Street, Nathan's on Vicar Lane, that's gone. Where the job centre is, it used to be just there. Reichenheim's on Cura Street, Semen and Siltzer. Charles Semen, first foreign-born mayor of Bradford. We went to his grave on the bus trip last year, up in the Jewish section of Sculmore Cemetery. Schunk and Soundsay on Wells Street, that's still there. Schuster and Fulder on Leeds Road, that's gone. Schwan and Kell on Vicar Lane, that's still there. And Sitchel's on Leeds Road, that's gone. And Wurtzburgh and Hallings, long gone. So there's an awful lot playing, and it's really interesting to see a game between Wurtzburgh and Reichenhiem. It's just a bit odd, really. Just whiz through a few of the warehouses. That's Barons Warehouse. It's still there to this day in Little Germany. Magnificent building, converted to apartments, of course, like most Little Germany has been. Whoops, going too quickly. Reichenheim's, mentioned Reichenheim, that's Curra Street. That's obviously still there and is now apartments. That's Kessler and Co. Wells Street. That's Vicar Lane. Sorry. You're also on Vicar Lane. There used to be an Albion House where I had my first job when I was 16. I walked through that door on many occasions reluctantly on a Monday morning when the week seems to go on and on and on. Now, there were German players. I mentioned that they're all called Smith, Brown, Wotmoff and what have you, but there are three. I found three Germans playing. Where's my little notes? Frederick Sigismund Schwan, the son of the owner of Schwan & Co. He batted at number 3 against Manning United in 1863. He's English, but his dad's obviously German. But with a name like Frederick Sigismund, you can see where his roots come from. Eduard Behrens, now he is German, and he's the brother of Jakob Behrens, who owned the company. He played in 1853. And in the same match, Charles Unner, who's the son of the company manager of Behrens, he played in that game. Now, Charles Unner's dad laid the foundation stone of the Bradford Synagogue and was a very big player in the world. So there was only 3 Germanic names in 122 players I've managed to find playing cricket in Bradford at this point. So, but all the same, it is interesting, isn't it, that warehouses with German names are playing the quintessential English game. And there's an awful lot of everybody starts playing cricket. Mills start playing cricket. Dye houses start playing cricket. Everybody's at it by a while. And initially, all the cricket being played in Bradford is essentially workplace cricket. But that begins to change, and it changes through the 1860s and 70s. And you see people coming together. And I think this represents two things. I mean, it represents the fact that Bradford itself is settling down and that people are becoming more attached to their neighbourhoods. You know, they're identifying with being from Clayton or Thornton or Manningham or wherever you want to talk about, and it's separating. The time off is beginning to separate from the workplace. So you want to get away from your work really, rather than play for your warehouse or whatever. And there's a lot of bizarre teams come together. So at Idle, for example, there's a club called Fat Pot who become Idle Lillywhites, who become Idle United, and finally Idle Cricket Club in 1889. Lidget Green, the Blazing Rag as it's written down, become Lidget Green United in 1880. At Clayton, which is the picture up there, Barsdorf's, one of the German warehouse companies, has a facility up at Clayton as well. They merged with Ben & Co, become Beckmill United in 1865, then eventually Clayton Cricket Club. And this happens all over the place. There's a great story I'll tell in a moment about woodlands. So you get people merging together. Now, the step towards a league structure begins with cups, as it does in. Oh, sorry, I just jumped on a different one. Yeah, just some more examples of people coming together. This is Windhill. I showed this picture on the first ever talk I did. I showed this picture. You can't see it, but there's a big hill, probably Car Lane, I guess. So in 1856, all reported matches in Bradford were workplace matches. 1857, a good example of them all coming together. Dunmills and Perrys merged to become Windhill United. In 1863, Windhill United merged with Windhill Educational to become Windhill Cricket Club. We're still playing to this day. And in 1866, of 32 games, only 4 are involving workplace teams. So there's a big shift happened towards neighbourhood teams, if you like. And it's cup cricket that is a really big jump towards a league structure and a formalised system. The first cup cricket I can find in Yorkshire is the Elmsley Cup in Leeds in 1880, the Wake Cup in Sheffield also in 1880, and it's followed by the Heavy Woolen Cup at Bartley, which is still played for in 1883, the Airedale Challenge Cup, which is begun by a Carveley vicar in 1884, and the Justling Challenge Cup in Bradford, which lasts 1 year, and the Craven Cricket Union Cup at Skipton in 1890. Club cricket sort of, it shares a lot with rugby. Rugby at the time, and we're talking rugby union, of course, at this time, was pretty big in Bradford in this Victorian era, and a lot of the culture crosses over. A lot of it's the same people. A lot of the rugby clubs come out of cricket clubs. For example, I mean, you work your way backwards from Bradford City. Bradford City were formed in 1903 from a Northern Union rugby club, who themselves came from a rugby union club, who themselves came from a cricket club. So it's something like 1856. There was a Manningham Albion Cricket Club playing in the park, in Manningham Park, and they eventually become the Manningham that eventually becomes Bradford City. So we can probably say that Bradford City themselves come from a cricket team. Yeah. So it's always. I've talked about the Vicar of Carveley, didn't I? The Vicar of Carveley starts the Airedale Challenge Cup, which ends up being the Airedale Wharfdale League. And why is he doing it? Sometimes it's local worthies, I think, who are trying to sort of impress the local population. So they're saying, "Oh, come, here's my cup, and I'm a lovely person, wonderful employer." I imagine that the Vicar of Carveley is also trying to support manly games, the rational recreation movement, which is all about doing things rational instead of going to the pub. It's doing manly sports, outdoor sports. You're keeping yourself fit. Also, might be about religious observance and trying to attract people to his church, I guess. So might be a bit of that going on. And cups also push clubs to charge gate money. Now, gate money and professionalism are around a long time before club cricket, but it really sharpens the focus that everybody has professionals. Very, very early, clubs have professionals. They begin to develop grounds. They begin to charge people to come into those grounds. But of course, the problem with a cup competition is this: you get knocked out in round 1, and it's all gone, isn't it, for the season? So it causes all sorts of problems. So people start thinking we need a more formalised structure to guarantee our income, and this is where the idea behind league cricket begins to appear. And just some background on the formation of Cricket League. The first cricket league we know of is the Birmingham League in 1888, which, guess what? The Football League is founded in Birmingham. And then the Birmingham Cricket League comes along almost at the same time. The North East Lancashire League 1890, South East Lancashire League 1890, Leeds and District 1891, Huddersfield and District 1891, Lancashire League 1892. It's spotting a pattern here. Central Lancashire League 1892, Ribblesdale League 1892, Central Lancashire, Yorkshire League, 1893, North Yorkshire and South Durham, 1893, Halifax and District, 1894. What's going on in 1890s Britain that people think, oh, let's have a cricket league? Well, football and rugby begin their leagues, and these follow on right on the back of it. And I don't think there's any surprise whatsoever that happens. In Bradford, you get the same pattern, and I won't bother saying 1893 because every single league starts in 1893. The Airedale and Wharfdale League, which is still going to this day, the Bradford District, the Keighley District, the West Bradford, the West Yorkshire, the Bradford Tradesmen's League, so there is still the importance of workplace, and the Bradford Labour League, which is a great one. It's only 6 teams. There's people like East Ward, Lillycroft, Manningham, etc., etc. So it's based around the Labour clubs, actually, which, of course, East Ward Labour Club, I think, is still there, isn't it, up on the road? So leagues begin to appear, and the best ones had unified start times. They would have independent umpires, and it's the punctuality that's really important, because that makes it accessible. You know what time it's going to start. There's a published fixture list. There are published league tables, and this becomes, it's the hook for spectators to turn up. So this is why you get the development of leagues. It's great for the clubs, and it's great ultimately for spectators. The influence of football, I mentioned that a couple of times. And the Football League was formed in Birmingham in September 1888, and in November 1888, someone has an idea of the Birmingham Cricket League. These two things are linked, undoubtedly. The Yorkshire Senior Competition Rugby, which is a rugby union, because Rugby League starts 3 years later in 1895. That starts, and it's based around Bradford and Leeds, and the majority of Bradford cricket clubs are formed the year afterwards. Sorry, cricket leagues are formed the year afterwards, and a very large percentage of them have links to rugby. Mentioned earlier, a lot of rugby clubs come out of cricket clubs anyway, so there's the link. And I thought to myself, because the West Bradford League has Ingro in it, and I thought, that's a bit unusual. I mean, it's West, but it's in Keighley. What's going on, and why are these people in there? And then I realised that every single team in the West Bradford Cricket League were on the railway line between Bradford Exchange, Queensbury and Keighley, or virtually, not all of them, but virtually all of them are on. Manningham Mills are the odd man out there, but you can get to Manningham quite easily by the tram network. But Ollerton, Clayton, Ollerton's about a mile away from one of the other stations, but Clayton, Cullingworth, Denham, Ingro, Lidgy Green, Queensbury, Thornton, Willesden are all stations on the West Bradford, on the line to which is closed now, obviously, over to Queensbury and Keighley. And then Penny dropped me that they're using the railway line, aren't they, to get back and forwards between games, because you've got to get there, play a 5-hour cricket match and get back. And that's the link. And I thought, oh, there we are. So began to look for patterns. But here's a lot of league cricket in Bradford. This is by 1902, you can see the expansion. So you've got the Airedale and Wharfdale, which is still going. The Bradford Alliance, Bradford District Church of England League. There's a lot of church stuff going on. Bradford Licensed Victualers League. Bradford Local League. That local you can get, I'm not quite sure. The Bradford Mutual Sunday School League. Bradford Sunday Schools, and must have hated the Bradford Mutual Sunday Schools. The Lowmoor District, the Manningham District, the West Bradford, and this is the best one, the Wharfdale and Airedale. Not the Airedale and Wharfdale, we're the Wharfdale and Airedale League. And never will the two ever mix. And the Yorkshire Council, I bet, again, I just love to know why on earth they appeared. So I mentioned punctual start times. There's a Yorkshire Post Office League as well, with just 4 clubs, Bradford, Leeds, Normanton and Wakefield. In August 1893, there's 20 league matches, but there are 57 other matches, i.e. non-league matches. So there's still a lot of cricket being played outside the leagues. I mentioned, again, the influence of rugby. The West Riding League of 10 members, 7 were linked to rugby clubs. The Lowmoor League is an interesting one. I mean, Lowmoor's a tiny place at that time, a population of less than 10,000, yet they have a 6-team league. Which is incredible. Woodlands, this is a great story. You've got to keep up with this one. I've got to keep up with this one. Woodlands were founded by the landlord of the Woodlands pub, which is still there, from a rugby club. It was an offshoot. It's quite unusual to go the other way, but they did do. In 1907, they joined the Bradford Sunday School League and had to become Woodlands YMCA because they couldn't be linked to a pub to be a member of it. The next year, in 1908, they decided to join the Bradford Licensed Victualers League, and the secretary resigns in protest because it's disgraceful they're joining a league that's about pubs. And of course, they get rid of the YMCA tag. Then in 1910, they decided to join the Bradford League Division 2, and there's a short-lived League Division 2. They lose that after a few years. So they joined the Bradford Church of England League, so they're back as Woodlands and Oakenshaw. And then in 1919, they decided to join the Bradford Central League, and they stayed there for 75 years before joining the Bradford Cricket League, and they won the Bradford Cricket League in 2024. So I think it's a good illustration of the fact that everybody's dancing around all the different leagues, and the leagues are coming and going. It's an era of instability in some respects. Well, it is an era of instability. Have I jumped over? No, I haven't. Sorry about this. The Bradford Cricket League, then, this is the big one, isn't it? The one we all know about. There's 13 leagues in Bradford by 1902, and then the Bradford Cricket League appears in 1903. That's still going to this day, obviously. It became one of the best cricket leagues in the world, if not the best. And again, it's based on. I'm trying and think, what's it based on? Why is the Bradford Cricket League suddenly appeared in 1903, and why was it such a massive success? It's starts with some clubs from the West Bradford League. So Ollerton, Clayton, Great Horton, Lidget Green, Manningham Mills, Queensbury and Thornton are all members of the West Bradford League. They decide to pull together a league that represents the city of Bradford in its whole. And I was trying to work out just why this happened. So it's 1903, it starts. And this is the Bradford Tramways in 1903. The Bradford Tramways in 1903, in January, is fully electrified. They simplify the fares. The increased service levels is fast, it's technologically advanced, and offers a collective identity. And every single team in the Bradford Cricket League are on the tramway. And again, the penny just dropped. They're using the tramways, of course, they're using the trams. And if you look at some of the handbooks of the Bradford Cricket League, and I've seen the West Bradford League from years back as well, they mention the nearest tram stop. They mention the nearest trolley bus stop or railway station. So they're using public transport, guess what, to get to and from matches. And it facilitates the Bradford Cricket League. And it allows you to get from one side of the city to, if you're from Thornbury and want to play at Thornton, you can. It's dead easy. You know how much it's going to cost. You know, tram's going to turn up every 7 minutes. So I think this is exactly what's happening. But being a good historian, I decided I needed to find out whether this was true or not. So the expansion of the Bradford Cricket League, there's a northward expansion in 1904, and then, well, it's 1904 to 9. They don't play up where the Jenny Lane, by the way, they're down on Baildon Green. Baildon, Eschol, Idle, Saltaire and Windhill joined the Bradford League in this period. And this is when the Bradford Tramways absorbed the mid-Yorkshire Tramway, which is Shipley based, in 1905. So all of these clubs, because as I said, Baildon are playing at Baildon Green, are on that tram network. So I thought, oh, hello. So I kept looking. And there's another massive expansion of the Bradford Cricket League in 1912 when East Bailie were already, by the way, East Bailie were already on the tramway, joined the Bradford Cricket League in 1912. And then you've got this eastward expansion. You've got Farsley, Lacerdyke, Pudsey, Britannia, Pudsey, St Lawrence, and Stanley and Farsley all joined the Bradford League. And I thought there must be a link to this. And there is. The tramways join up. In 1910, the Bradford and Leeds tramways join. And they merge with the Pudsey tramways. So something you can get from Pudsey to Thornton, for example, on the Saturday afternoon and back in no particular time. Also, almost certainly, they're using the tramways to expand the league, and teams can join the league. And there's a tramway map from, I think it's 1915, in its full extent. The only team, by the way, in the league who are not on the tramway is Eschol. But there's a railway station at Eschol, so it's dead easy to get to, and it's not that far to walk from some places. So, and guess what's going on? So I decided the lost property of the Bradford Tramways still exists. It's in the old library, the old big library at the top of town. And you can go through the lost property of the Bradford Tramways. And I thought, well, here we go. I'll find what's been lost on the tramways, and then I'll know. So these are sporting items. By the way, I mean, it's a fascinating. This is 1911 to 23, so it goes through the First World War. And the things that people leave on trams is absolutely incredible. There are guns. There are prosthetic leg. There's a hand grenade. There's all teeth, false teeth. You name it, they leave it on the trams. But here's the lost property that's of a sporting sense. 64 golf bags, 38 golf clubs. That's the biggest one, but I guess this is a 19-hole, isn't it? 23 cricket bats get left, so there we go. So people are using the tramway to go to cricket matches. 19 tennis rackets, 9 bicycles. How do you leave a bicycle on a tram? But here's the punchline. The bicycle is left every October for 9 years on the trot. And I thought, is it the same bloke? Is it, oh, where's it? Stan, where's your bike? Oh, God, I've left it on the tram again. But the Bradford cycling season would finish around October. So I'm wondering if they've just had a bit of a soiree and they thought, well, we'll have a few pints on what cycle. I'll go on the tram, and then leave the bike on the tram. I'm not quite sure how you leave a bike on a tram. Oh, there's a billiard case, 2 footballs. Why footballs? Why not many 4 footballs? Well, there's 11 of you to remember. Who's got the ball? And I suppose, well, if you leave a football on a tram, it won't be long before someone nicks it. Whereas nicking a bike or I don't know, is a bit different. 3 hockey sticks, 5 hockey outfits, 9 hockey bags. Golf clubs. There's a lot of artisan golf clubs up here in Bradford in this period. In fact, I've written it down, so if I look at my notes, it might help. Yeah, Northcliffe and Baildon golf courses, so artisan golf clubs. You could turn up, you could rent, you didn't have to be a member as such. So it was more open to people who perhaps haven't got as much money to spare that you can just do a game. And maybe that's why they're leaving the golf bags on board, but there we are. So I'd like to say, I think I nailed the fact that the tramway was being used to facilitate the league. Now, was it a success? Well, this is a picture of Windhill Cricket Club. We went there, didn't we? Relatively recently, I think there were 6 of us watching. That's a bit different, isn't it? But that's when they had Leary Constantine and they won the league in 1941. That picture's from 1941, a wartime game. Carried on through the war, did the Bradford Cricket League. And the success of it is astonishing. In 1913, the Priestley Cup final had 13,000 people at Park Avenue to watch the cup final. Bradford Cricket Club against Great Horn Cricket Club. In 1919, throughout the entire season, 265,770 people watched Bradford League cricket, which was more than watched Yorkshire County Cricket Club. So it's a massive success. County cricket perhaps has never been the all-consuming passion for the working class, but clearly league cricket was for quite a long time. And that sport and landscape is still intact. I mean, to this day, the Bradford Cricket League has become the West Yorkshire Cricket League nowadays, hasn't it? The Premier League, but it's still there. And the fact that a lot of those clubs I mentioned earlier in this talk are still going to this day. So I hope you've enjoyed this bizarre journey from German cricket through warehousing towards cups and then into league systems and the use of the tramways. And it's given you an idea of a little part of our sporting landscape now. It's evolved. And my apologies for being a bit all over the place this morning, but 14 hours of heavy drinking last night, followed by dancing, apparently in the Peacock, until midnight, didn't do me a lot of good. So thanks for bearing with me, and we'll see you next time. See you in January. By the way, the next talk is Mike Harrison of the City Gent. He's going to talk about this little exhibition that he's put up of City Gent covers. I think it's 11th of January, but I might be wrong on that one. Something like that. Anyway, you'll find it. Watch social media. Thank you again. I'm amazed they got through that. Dear me.
Auf dem grünen Rasen steht ein Team in weißem Dress bereit. Mit Schläger und mit Ball in Hand beginnt das Spiel im Bayernland. Die Zirpen singen laut im Chor, der Bowler läuft zum Wurf hervor. Der Batsmann schwingt mit aller Kraft, das Leder fliegt durch Sommerluft. Zirp, 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 der Rhythmus schlägt, das Publikum ist aufgeregt. Ein 6, ein 4, ein schneller Lauf, die Stimmung heißt sich weiter auf. Cricket, Cricket, welches wild, wo Tradition auf Neues trifft. Mit Lederhosen und mit Bart feiern wir den Cricket-Satz. Die viele da springen, fangen, werfen, der Umpire muss genau beobachten. Das Wicket fällt, ein lauter Schrei, die Menge jubelt wie noch nie. Zirp, 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 der Rhythmus lebt, das Publikum ist aufgelegt. ein Weg sein mir ein schneller Lauf. Die Stimmung heißt sich weiter auf. Cricket, bayerisch wild, wo Tradition auf Neues trifft. Mit Lederhosen und mit Bart feiern wir den Cricket-Schatz. Cricket, bayerisch wild, wo Tradition auf Neues